So here I am outside of Lagonda, Saint Athan Lagonda in South Wales, and it's got a very interesting history. The company was founded in 1906 by a gentleman called Wilbur Gunn. Now Wilbur Gunn was sorry about the traffic noise, but there's a lot of traffic at the moment, being a Saturday. Wilbur Gunn was an American that became a British national. He became a British national in 1891, I believe, and then he founded the Aston Martin company, not Aston Martin, the Lagonda company, in 1906. It didn't get together with Aston Martin until 1947. Now, between those dates, between 1906 and 1947, there was a lot of investment and development at the company. The company started making the first model it made was called the Torpedo. The Torpedo was a 20 horsepower vehicle that started the whole company, because that won a race, a trial from Moscow to St. Petersburg. And on winning that race, along came a lot of orders from Russia itself for that vehicle. So that's what started the ball rolling. That quickly developed, and Wilbur Gunn developed the company initially. They saw a lot of different models between 1906 and the First World War. I think there were 4 models that went on sale, selling 12,000 units of both of the main popular ones. So that's not too bad. I mean, that's a big investment into that company. Said it was doing really well. Got a bit of a cheat sheet here, so I'm going to have a little read a minute. 1913 launched the advanced small car, a little 1.1 cylinder, 4-cylinder car. Went on to straight into World War I then, though, and the company had to stop at that point, and they diversified and they made artillery shells, which I suppose at that point in time was kind of inevitable. So then they came out of World War I, at which point, unfortunately for the founder, Wilbur Gunn, he dies, and the company gets passed on to the 3 directors at the time. The head director, I have his name down here somewhere. Let's have a look. Colin Parbury. Now, Colin Parbury, he carried on with the development of the engines and the development of the different cars. And between World War I and World War II was probably the most productive time, and they really did go to town with the R&D aspect of it. They got on board Mr. Bentley, W.O. Bentley. He was their chief designer. That would happen from 1935 onwards, at which point they were designing and selling 5-litre vehicles, up to 200 horsepower, just before World War II. Then World War II came along, and guess what? They made ammunition shells. They were quite good at making ammunition cells, and they got to 50,000 a day at their main factory, which was in Middlesex to start with. But then they moved to after the war, they ended up moving out to Middlesex, and they moved to I believe it was Newport Pagnell. Which is where they still have operations today. Not Lagonda, but Aston Martin do, their parent company. So, and it was just after the war actually that Aston Martin merged up with Lagonda, because this story is all about Lagonda. That's Lagonda's history I've just read out. Mr. Bentley, their chief designer from the 30s, was poached off of Rolls-Royce. So all these big prestigious companies, they're all getting together and they're poaching each other, and there's massive development in the cars that are being produced. So they end up now, after World War II, taking the company still further on. But as Aston Martin now have the lead role in the partnership, if you want to put it that way, Lagonda is only sporadically brought into play. They they kind of put it on the back burner for many a year, and then they bring out the name and launch another vehicle. But the most famous, I suppose, was they got through the 60s and into the 70s, and then in 1976 they launched the Aston Martin Lagonda. That was the name of the vehicle itself, and that vehicle sold 645 units, which they sold all the way through the late 70s and all the way through the 80s until 1990. And then the name kind of went out of favour, and we didn't hear anything until recently. And then recently they sold the Taraf, I think I'm saying that right. 2015 to 2016, the Taraf, which was £1 million vehicle, super luxurious. They were never meant to be sold in Europe and in the US. They were only ever meant to go to the Middle East and the Far East to super wealthy owners, no doubt. But yeah, they sold 200 units of those, and they did it actually in the end come to Europe and go to North America, but there were only ever 200 units made. And now we're at the stage where that name kind of came and went, the Taraf. It wasn't produced more than that those 2 years. And now in 2020 we're at this plant here. Let me just zoom in and show you. We're at this plant here. If we can just read the name, there we go, Aston Martin Lagonda, and we are making the DBX. The DBX is a SUV, sports utility vehicle. It's being produced and manufactured here at the moment. They rolled off the line for the first time only a few weeks back, about 2 months ago I believe, at the end of July and beginning of August, and we're now into September. So that is where they are being made. They are a four-wheel drive SUV. The market that they want to get a part of is where the weather climate prevents people from having sports cars, but they still want to spend some money into a vehicle. Mostly in Russia and China, I believe, and maybe Canada or North America, maybe. But yeah, being a four-wheel vehicle, it's that was the actual percentages that the company quotes was they wanted 80% of whatever was manufactured to go abroad and only 20% to stay in the UK. And being an all-wheel drive vehicle, I imagine these aren't huge figures, because the UK doesn't really have the necessity for four-wheel drive on a day-to-day basis. But if you've got that type of money to spend, and I imagine they're not cheap, if you can spend that type of money, then why not? Yeah, and here we go, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Brief history. I kind of condensed a lot of it. The development stage is very, very interesting. If you go into Wikipedia or onto Google, it's incredible what history this company has. But yeah, it did lie dormant for many a year between 1990, basically up until 2015. A long period where it was only briefly resurrected. I think it sold a handful, and literally, in fact, the figure quoted was 17 units of vehicles to in the mid-90s, 93 to 94. They were called gunback vehicles, which was like almost like almost like an estate version of a super fancy car, but a little odd to look at, to be honest with you. Almost like a fastback as well, but not quite a fastback. And there we go. Someone's appreciating the fact that I'm filming. And there we go. All the aircraft work going on that side. So an interesting mix in South Wales. A mix of aviation, construction. More hangars going up, as I say. One is due to be a paint shop. I think this area here is going to be a paint shop. That makes more sense, more accessible from the aircraft, more accessible than that area over there, which I don't know what that is. It may be a storage area that they're reclaiming that bit of land for. I have no idea. Perhaps the aircraft industry is about to expand, or perhaps the end of life aircraft industry is about to expand. Who knows? There we go. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. South Wales. What used to be MOD Saint Athan is now the business park in Saint Athan. I haven't even shown you what's over in that direction. I'll give you a quick turn of the lens. Let's go and have a look what we got over in that direction. More hangars, and these hangars over here. That one in the distance, the one with the white windows on the front of it. That hangar is a museum, aircraft museum. South Wales Aviation Museum, SWAM. Volunteers run it. Fantastic collection they've got in there. If you're into your aviation and you can get to South Wales, Saint Athan, that hangar is a dream of an experience for some people. As for the other two hangars, I believe they're storage. Not for aviation though. They've got all sorts of purposes these days. The camp long ago ran down from its prime days of seeing mass employment and mass aircraft activity. Now it's got minimal activity, but the aircraft side of things, it was doing well until recently. I feel sorry for it at the moment. It's definitely under stress. And as for the cars, who are going to buy all these prestigious cars? Who has got the money at the moment to buy Aston Martin Lagonda cars? I have no idea. We've just got someone pulling up to us now. I don't know who this is. It doesn't look like it's any kind of authoritative figure, just someone curious, I think. Curious to see what I'm seeing. The Lagonda Aston Martin plant in South Wales. I think I'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Catch up with you soon. Thank you. Bye.